Are you tired of having an easy life choosing which gadget should use? Wait a second. This was the exact same intro I used on the first part, which by the way, you should totally watch it in case you haven't done it yet. Link in the description. Starting off today, we have Shade, and it's zero surprise to everybody that his first gadget it is extremely strong. So now, to compensate the bonus range that a gadget gives you, now it would also reduce how open the attack is by 50%. This should make so that his gadget attack does not feel as massive as it is, would still have the longer range, just don't have that massive of an area control. Secondly, we need to talk about his second gadget, which sucks. Like, why would you need a slow, especially a that long one, if they're already that close to you? So now, the area of the gadget would be increased from 2.66 tiles to 6 tiles, but the duration would be reduced from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. It should still be more than enough time for you to kill the enemy and to get the super, which is, I think, the point of the gadget. So hopefully with these changes, it will be a lot harder to pick the gadget for Shade. Next on the list we have Meeple, and unfortunately I do not have gameplay for him, so guess you'll just have to watch Buzzlight for a little bit. But both of the gadgets would actually be nerfed, because honestly, both of the gadgets have a tremendous amount of potential that I haven't seen in a long time. So, the first gadget would just simply no longer deal damage, so now you will completely waste, kinda, your basic attack to create those walls that will be possibly extremely good for your entire team, feels like a fair sacrifice. And secondly, your second gadget will no longer be able to be used while you are at full HP. So pretty much you can only stun your enemies or interrupt enemy abilities if you're not at full HP, which the fact that you still got the ability to interrupt any super in the game at full HP in such a massive radius, like no one really can do that besides Meeple, and that is extremely unfair, therefore the nerf it is more than justified. Next on the list we have Mortis, and this is a very simple one. Your first gadget now also charges your super. Like, you technically get charge rate thanks to the second gadget because it just increases your reload speed. So why shouldn't you get super from the gadget that it's literally an AoE attack version of your basic attack? For me it doesn't really make any sense honestly, so let's just fix that, shall we? Next on the list we have Tara, and she's the opposite of Meeple. I actually think like both of her gadgets need a buff. Her first gadget it is just so specific and it doesn't really do that much. Like Buzz gets to watch bushes for I think 12 seconds, and yes, she can see invisible enemies, but the bonus utility it's useless really. So increase the duration of the first gadget from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. And on top of that, the second gadget, the Shadow Taurus, the HP would be increased from 1080 to 1240. Feels more than fair because honestly, both of those gadgets are pretty neat, really. Next we have Max, and her gadget choice it's just so easy. So it needs some rebalancing. To start off, the shield from the first gadget would be reduced from 100% to only 50%. The shield it's just so strong, like invulnerability like that. Tick used to have invulnerability as well on his shield, and then it got reduced to 50%. So I am not really sure why shouldn't Max have kinda the same treatment. And the second gadget is still very bad, so now the second gadget would also reload all of your ammo that you used for the next 3 seconds. Kinda how it happens with your HP, you go with the same HP, back in time with the same HP, and with the same amount of ammo. Makes perfect sense actually, because this is technically a go back in time gadget. Next we have Mr. P, and very simply, your second gadget now spawns a regular porter. Mr. P is already horrible, but I do see the potential and sometimes the annoyingness that his first gadget has, so I'm only gonna buff the second gadget, where now you spawn a regular porter. That simple. Why would you spawn a weaker porter? Like, I feel like there is zero reasons to why it should be like that. Next on the list we have Squeak, and I still think that his first gadget should have some sort of rework to how the bonus range is handled. It should not be bonus range. Squeak is not a sniper and he will never be, and honestly if you miss like by a lot, then you'll just have that all of that bonus range, just making your life extremely bad because you won't even have area control. That area control will be wasted 2 miles away from you. So feels fair to change that bonus range to bonus radius so that it actually gives Squeak more area control, which is what he's meant to do. So it makes perfect sense to me, this change. Might be a little too broken, but it makes sense. Next on the list we have Ruffs, and honestly his first gadget should spawn 4 bags instead of 3. Like, whenever I see Rustling Blade, it's always the second gadget. And I don't know, maybe that means that the first gadget is just not good enough. Next on the list have Fang, and now your first gadget would also charge your super by 7.5%. This means that 3 popcorns would give you like 1 basic attack worth of super, which is really good, and maybe after this change people will just not blindly cross all of those popcorns. Next we have Eve, and very simply makes so that the second gadget does not ruin your super recharge rate. Like, you get recharge rate whenever a hatchling attaches to an enemy, then you get like the poison recharge rate, and you do not get that if you're using the healing super instead, which is a massive waste. So like, I feel like the downside of the gadget, it's honestly so big that it might not make it useful, so hopefully with this change the gadget choice might be slightly harder. Next on the list have Buster, and his first gadget, the heal will be increased from 720 per ally to 1000 per ally. There are so many heals right now in the game, and especially because this is a gadget, it's surprising that it can heal so little to nothing. Like, you need at least 3 allies inside that super radius to even get a little bit of value, and even then the value is just not great. So I feel like increasing the healing of this gadget, especially when compared to the other gadget, I mean, it just needs this buff, otherwise this gadget will be absolutely forgotten. Next we have Gray and his first gadget, which it's one of the best gadgets in the game. You pull people, you also deal the exact same amount of damage as your basic attack, you destroy walls. Like, it needs to lose one of those things. Obviously it won't lose the pulling, because that's the whole point of the gadget. So instead, your gadget would no longer destroy walls. Very simple, and I think that it will make the gadget a lot more balanced because it would now have a limit. Like, you would pull someone over a wall, yeah, you would deal damage, but you would not break the wall. So the enemy would still be on the other side of the wall, and you would not be able to assassinate so easily throwers, for example, which would be a massive game changer. Next have RT, and I guess I just need to give the reality check. His first gadget, it's just way too broken. Like, with that gadget, no one will ever be able to approach you. That is just how strong the gadget is, and also the super as well, but that's a whole other thing. Therefore, you cannot just have this type of gadget as a reaction tool. Like, imagine if Edgar could just instantly get his super, like, it feels just too much. So now, instead of magically getting all of your super filled, now you would get your super filled in 4 seconds of delay. It's nearly the same as Edgar, but you would still get a lot more super from that gadget. So hey, I think it's more than balanced. I mean, if Edgar, who is an assassin, has a limit to such an ability, so should RT, because that is not even his function. Next on the list we have Doug, and now his first gadget would heal the triple. So, I mean, your second gadget gives you so much, a massive amount of damage and double the charge rate. Your first gadget gives you a little bit extra heal, so it's time to make the first gadget actually impactful. So if you're not using the second gadget, which gives you so much more, at least you get a massive amount of heal. Next on the list we have Chuck, and let's just replace his first gadget. I never saw that thing being helpful. Like, if anyone ever had a moment where that gadget was good, like, write in the comments down below, trust me, I will read them. And while they're doing that, why not subscribing to the channel? Oh yes, it's that time of the video. And while you're at it, why not watch more videos in the channel and join our Discord server? Link in the description. Thank you so much, and let's go to Chuck, which I haven't finished that actually. So rework his gadget so that your next super deals knockback. Very simple, and I feel like it would be really good. I mean, you can never underestimate how simple a tiny knockback can be. The potential to interrupt any enemy ability, it's still a really good thing. And when compared to the second gadget, I mean, it has its benefits really. You choose between passing through walls or dealing knockback to the enemies. I feel like that is a pretty balanced choice, not gonna lie. Next we have Charlie, and both of her gadgets would actually receive a buff. Start off, her spider gadget would have a buff in the duration of the spiders, where all of the spiders would now last 7 seconds from 5. Honestly, the spiders losing that much HP per second just feels crazy. Like, you lose so much HP so fast. I mean, the spiders lose, which it feels pretty bad. Like, this is only really good to counter like Watson, for example, or Hyper. But she's not a long range Brawl, so it doesn't really matter that much. So you see the problem. Secondly, her second gadget now would just have a tiny bug fix, where now you would not have that awful bug that you get paralyzed in case the enemy team destroys your own cocoon too fast. I don't know if you ever used the second gadget, but if the enemy team destroys the cocoon super fast, you get paralyzed. Like, you cannot do anything, and that is a horrible bug that kinda destroys the whole point of the gadget in some situations. So yeah, this bug fix would do wonders for that gadget. Next we have the monkey, and now his second gadget would also have the boost of instantly giving you 1 ammo. You get that bonus range and you instantly reload 1 ammo. In case you don't know, Maze's second gadget is so bad that actually instantly gives you 1 ammo. So I think that a lot of bad gadgets should have this extra of giving you 1 extra ammo. Like, I am sure that especially on a brawler like Miko, this would change everything. Next on the list we have Melody, and reduce the shield from her second gadget from 10% to 9%, and make sure that that shield does not get even larger because of the hypercharge. The hypercharge mixed with the second gadget gives you like 60% shield. Who thought this was a good idea? Next on the list have Lily, and now your gadget would have a cost. You needed to sacrifice not 1 but 2 ammo to enter the Shadow Realm. And also, because of such a nerf, now you would stay in the Shadow Realm for 5 seconds. This start off changes a lot of things. So you now cannot use this gadget as a savior in case you messed up your attack, because you will need both ammo, and I'm pretty sure that if you messed up your attack on the enemy team, you're most likely not gonna have enough ammo to do such thing. So this nerf would fix that. And because you could stay longer in the Shadow Realm, you could actually start regenning inside the Shadow Realm. So I am seeing a lot of benefits. But with this being said, there is one tiny nerf, which is that the cooldown for the gadget only starts when you're out of the Shadow Realm. I already asked for this part so many times that it's starting to annoy me a little bit, honestly. Next on the list we have Juju, and very simply her second gadget would have 2 nerfs. Start off, whenever you go invisible, now if you attacked while you're invisible, you lose the invisibility. Like every other invisibility in the game, I don't understand why is this one so special, really. And also the shield from this gadget would be reduced from 50% to 40%. She has more HP than Crow, and Crow only has a 40% shield. I mean, even Hank has a 40% shield. So I don't really understand why she has the right to have a 50% shield. Like, I truly do not understand it. Next we have Crow, and simply make his second gadget last an additional half a second of slow. The gadget does not feel impactful at all, and Crow is kinda mid right now, so I feel like this tiny buff to the gadget, it is pretty deserved, honestly. Next on the list we have Leon, and his gadget would have the same trait as Buzz and Cordelius. This means that if enemies stand near to your gadget, you would actually get super. I still remember when people saw that Leon's clone had that area around it on that one Brawl Talk, but then it never got released. That's so sad, really. Like, I don't understand why they didn't do it, and honestly, I would kill to see that in the game. Next we have Sandy, and his first gadget would be rework, so that now instead of you needing to wait 1 second to get full HP, now instead the gadget would take 2 seconds, but for each 0.2 seconds you would be sleeping, you would heal 760 HP, which actually, not only that is how Sandy's HP work and everything, that's actually the exact double that his star power heals by doing the math. So honestly, this just feels right. Next on the list we have Meg, and now her first gadget would give shield instead of HP, which a robot healing like that, I don't know, feels kind of weird honestly. And technically shield is slightly better because, I mean, obviously it has a limited duration, but you still get that bonus HP in a certain way, not to mention that it cannot be anti-healed, for example, with Crow or against the Byron Super, so I feel like that is an improvement for most of the situations. But most importantly, now your second gadget would have its area increased by 50%, so now it would have the same area here as Bo's Totem, just for you to have an idea, and that would make that gadget probably really solid, not gonna lie. Surge and his second gadget will receive a nerf. Now instead of getting exactly 2 ammo, you would get 1.5 ammo. So the gadget, it's still so good, like gives you shield, it gives you ammo, and I feel like nerfing even further the shield could potentially kill the gadget. So I feel like reducing the ammo that you get, it's probably the right call, because this gadget, it's so good. Next on the list we have Draco, and both of his gadgets will receive some changes. To start off, his first gadget, now when the enemy lands, that enemy would get hypnotized for 1 second. Very similar to how Ollie's second gadget works, but with the extra of the jump. I am the type of person that really enjoys reusing content from other brawlers as long as it feels somewhat different, and I absolutely think that this is a completely use than probably what you would normally use with Ollie. So this feels like the perfect change to make this gadget kind of viable. And on top of that, the second gadget would get a tiny nerf, where now you could only use the gadget while you are on the dragon form. I already saw some people using it on the human form, which got them so much value because you immediately got the super from that shield and kinda saved your life. And because I don't see any other way of nerfing this broken gadget, I feel like this is the only way to do it. And finally we have Kenji, and again both these gadgets would receive some changes. To start off, his first gadget would receive a buff, where now you would keep the attack that you had at the moment for the next 5 seconds, instead of obligatory being the dash. So now you could actually approach an enemy, click the gadget, and you would for the next 5 seconds always have the slash, which for most of the times having permanently the slash would be really good. And if you wanted movement, you would use that gadget before even reaching the location, or whatever the hell you do with the first gadget. I don't use the first gadget. So speaking of the second gadget, that thing would get a massive rework, where now instead of just magically healing all of the damage dealt to you in the past 3 seconds, now you would create a bubble around you that for the next 3 seconds you would heal 75% of the damage taken when that bubble popped off. So you would rush into someone, you click on the gadget, and after 3 seconds, all of that damage that you received, 75% of it would be converted back into healing. These would be a high risk, high reward gadget that a brawler like Kenji could really use very well, because you still have the super has a defense mechanism. So this gadget could be even better in some scenarios or completely useless in others. You would have to be lucky and have a decent amount of skill to use such gadgets. And there you have it. After 4 months, the part 2 of fixing Brawl Stars gadgets is finally here. I know it took a long time, I procrastinated a lot between parts. It happens a lot. Therefore, probably next time I try to do a video like this, I'll just put everything together to make the video better and faster, so that a thing like this won't happen again. Hope you enjoyed. Write your opinion down in the comments below. Trust me, I will read them, and I'll see ya on the next video.